If you're looking to relocate for more freedom and a better quality of life and have no idea where to start here. We're the Woodworths, and we personally use this method while searching for the ideal location to start our own off-grid homestead. A friend turned us on to the book Strategic Relocation by Joel M. Scoden. We swear by this book and have recommended it to a lot of our friends and family as well. It may be written for a more prepper-minded audience, but topics outlined like cost of living, tax burden, median home price, and a lot more are pertinent to everyone regardless of your dream. So to begin, we made a list of 5 things that we valued most and began crossing off the states that didn't serve that at all. For us, it was things like cost of land, tax burden, friendliness to homeschooling, current political leaning, and friendliness to homesteading and off-grid living. Then we were able to get our list down to about 10 states that we could really dive into. Let me warn you, it's important to approach this objectively and not get too closed off to certain states or dead set on making one state work until you've done the research. You could be omitting places that you would love. Let's get back to the list. Friendliness to homesteading and off-grid living. The book does a deep dive into each state's laws regarding things like rainwater collection, waste management codes, alternative energy regulations, and more. All things that are necessary or really helpful to homesteaders and off-gridders. So for us, very important. Did you know, according to the state's official website, the state of Montana owns the waters within the state on behalf of its citizens. Citizens do not own the water, but can possess a legal right to use the water within state guidelines. Topics like this are addressed in the book and shed light on the nitty-gritty parts of each state's climate for homesteaders. There's nothing worse than accidentally doing something illegal and getting in trouble for it. Ask me how I know. Seriously. Political leaning. The most current edition was published in January of 2020, and boy, we know stuff has changed since then, so we used the book as a reference to see what the current, as of the time of the book's publication, political climate was in each state. Then we compared it with each state's current migration patterns and COVID response. As we all know, a lot of states changed completely during COVID, and for us, that knocked 3 of our top states off of the list. They were shifting politically, and we had no interest in showing up to a new place and having to immediately fight to keep the rights that we had just moved there for. If you want more on that, let me know in the comments. The data we found may surprise you. Friendliness to homeschooling. This book was published before the great homeschooling tsunami of 2020, and some of the data may be off, but it's a great place to start. Did you know? In some states in the U.S., you can homeschool your kids without ever informing the government. In other U.S. states, it's mandatory that you design and submit an instruction plan to the superintendent prior to the start of every school year, and report on your child's progress quarterly, and submit an assessment at the end of the year, plus a lot of other stuff. If homeschooling is a big consideration for your final destination, this book is a great place to start your research. Tax burden. This one gets a little tricky because there are so many taxes to consider, but the big ones are income tax, property tax, inheritance tax. Some states are really favorable to inheritance laws, and some will tax you to death and tax you for dying. For example, Alaskans face a tax burden of 4.6%, while New Yorkers pay nearly 16%. Make sure you weigh the options, especially if you're going to start a business or plan on doing a lot of land buying. The cost of land. This one was on our list, and it wasn't the least of our considerations. It was huge. One of our goals in starting this off-grid homestead was to buy as much land as we could afford in hopes of leaving something substantial to our children. After all, they aren't making more land, so the value should go up. Since we used the book to narrow things down considerably, when we got to this last item, it was easy to see which states were going to be best for us. It made the decision a lot easier. At that point, we were down to 2 states, Arkansas and Missouri, which gave us a great starting place for our actual land search. And as soon as Woody was discharged from the Navy, we hit the road and started meandering around the areas that we thought we may want to move. We'd spent months on Zillow and Facebook looking at properties and could walk into the area feeling secure in our decision to put in an offer when one came around. There is one last thing. Even if you're years away from making this jump, it would be to your advantage to get an idea of your options right now. A little foresight may go a long way in making your dream go smoothly. Again, I have linked the book in the description of this video, so get yourself a copy and happy planning. If you want to see more of our off-grid homestead build, start with our cabin. There's a whole playlist dedicated to the first 8 weeks we spent out there. It has been a lot of fun and we can't wait to watch it evolve over the coming years. Thanks again for joining us, and don't forget to like this video and leave us a comment. YouTube really loves that.